Hey guys and gals, still at home in Missouri. Another week left here, and let's give you a little update where we're at. We've got all the fuel parts ordered now, so we can finish putting the new fuel system in the car when I get back to California, and then we can actually start getting some testing done on this car. Almost everything is done. I still need to set up the suspension and the rear suspension, make sure everything is lined out in it. Just little odds and ends that I need to do, but not much left. I gotta still clean out the garage here and get it ready to put a car in it. We've got the front where the driveway actually is, because my garage is in the back of the house, my driveway is in the front. So I have it where I can at least get the trailer back through the yard and back here where I can get the car out and into the garage here when I bring it back here finally. So that's a big feat, except the fact that I put a riding lawnmower where the car's going to go. So I've got a lot of cleaning up to do, but the plan is to get a shop built on our property here. But we've haven't even owned this house a year yet, so it's, we're still getting the house itself situated. We haven't finished getting the everything else done yet, but we're getting there, and we have found a company that's going to build our shop and do a lot of the work for us. We have some friends that'll help us with some concrete work. We'll hire them for all the concrete work. So things are coming along, but just an update on where we're at and why things aren't finished yet, and why you haven't really been seeing any updates, because I've been at home for the last month and a half, and I've done nothing really but fish and fish again, and then I have fished again. I've been doing a lot of fishing, except today I didn't go fishing. We went to the lake, and the girls all swam, and we actually got a little bit of a sandy beach, and I'm not really much of a sand kind of person. I didn't like going to the beach in California. Of course, I just kind of figured that's because I'm not from California. I'm from Missouri, but I didn't really care for the beach here either. I'm more of a guy that goes out and fishes. If I'm hot, I'll jump off the boat and take a swim, but at my age, I ain't into swimming no more. But anyway, you guys don't care about none of that, but we'll get the car back going. I do have my first order of t-shirts, which is just for close family and friends, so that we could check them out and see what it was like and the quality, make sure I like the quality of the t-shirts I picked out, and which is nice, high quality. I went a little higher quality than a lot of times you get, so they're not for sale yet, but once we get racing next spring, we'll be selling some at the tracks where we're at. I'm not really going to do any online sales with any of that right now. If anybody happens to want to buy them, I'll have them. People can buy them. So we've got that going for us. I'm going to try to figure out how to do more YouTube videos, which will also come to the Facebook page, but I've got to learn how to do that a lot better, because for me, I've never been really into doing the video side or the editing side, and everybody says, you should just do it, we want to know. Well, fine, so I'm going to try. I don't know. I've reached out to a couple people. Hopefully they respond to kind of tell me how I can better make my videos. I know a lot of people are using their iPhones for making their videos and putting them to YouTube, and so there's going to be a lot of that going on, but I got to learn how to really do it all. I'm not an expert at any of that. I pieced together a little YouTube video to try, and I was able to put some clips together, but I'd like to be able to do some voiceover, some cool stuff for you guys, just so you can kind of enjoy the content when it starts getting created. But that's not to come till next spring, once we actually start racing the car. Maybe we'll get some footage when we're testing the car this fall, because we'll be testing in California. I'm usually pretty busy. My wife will still be here in Missouri. My kids will still be here in Missouri, so I'll be in California. My in-laws don't really do a lot of the videoing, especially my father-in-law. He usually helps me out as much as he can, so he's not going to be any kind of person to put behind the camera, because he's the kind of person that's going to actually be helping me do things with the car. So maybe I can get a friend to grab my phone, do some video footage. Maybe I can make some kind of holder that it can attach to my roll cage, that I can take my phone, put it in the car, and do just in-car footage, so you guys can see what's happening inside the car while I'm going along. So kind of get my view of things while we're going. I don't have a GoPros. I had an old GoPro, but the battery doesn't last longer than about 10 minutes. but it's like an old Hero 2, I think, and I'm not really interested in using that anymore. I don't know if it'll still charge up. It's been dead for so many years. I don't even know if I still have it. I think I do, but if I do, it's going to end up in the trash because it's not anything worth using. So we'll have to see what I can figure out and what I can do. Maybe eventually I'll buy some GoPros to put on the car, but our local track in California really doesn't like it when you put GoPros on the outside of the car unless they're somehow tethered to the car. And I've never messed with having to tether to the car either. So I don't know how we're going to get you some content, but I am determined to get content. Just so you guys can see what's going on, what's happening, what the deal is. You know, this is kind of a boring video staring at me, but it's just to let you guys know I have been ordering some parts to finish the car off. I believe I have all the last of the parts that I need. Then we've got a little bit of wiring. I have Low Dollar Motorsports shock sensors front and rear that I've already made mounts for, put on the car. The rear was actually easy. I just used their mounts. The front, I couldn't just use their mounts the way that I was attaching them, so Kelly Henry gave me some ideas, and I've for the front, so I've implemented those ideas, and seem to work out pretty good. I do still need to wire them up and then just configure them in the computer. The front, the wiring is basically already all ran. For the rear, I just need to run the wiring up to the front and get it hooked up to the computer, and the configuration is pretty simple. From Glen Payne, I got a laser ride height sensor, which I'm going to be still installing on the car and taking advantage of. See how that works out for us. Use it for some measurements in the beginning. In the past, I was known for the guy that would come out. I love to do wheelies, and I was always doing wheelies when my car was a nitrous car. Now, since it's been a turbo car, we've kind of kept it adjusted where it didn't really lift the front up too much, really didn't pull wheelies. I was able to keep most of that adjusted out and still get some really good 60-foot times, which I have never disclosed and not going to disclose, at least not right now. But the 60-foot times have been, if you've seen any of the videos, they really don't do justice to what we're doing. If you've seen the time slips that went with the videos, you'd be shocked. The car looks slow. It actually kind of feels slow to me, and then I look at the time slip and go, wow, this is incredible. I mean, switching from nitrous to turbo is way different. I've had to work on the car a lot less. I did have some growing pains since I've gone to the LS, and LSs are really simple unless you kind of forget about a few key things. And being a nitrous guy, the biggest problem should have been something that I addressed anyway, which was no keyway on the crank that I had, and then ended up switching to a front mount crank trigger. And so yeah, I should have pinned the balancer. So that's where all my problems were arising from, was getting too much timing from the balancer moving, which was moving my timing. And so I've got that figured out now and all taken care of. We actually had fixed that problem for the last pass that we made, but the damage was already done from way too much detonation. I thought I had broke a rod. I had Molinar Power Adder Plus rods, and I will tell you right now, for all the people that thought that I had broke a rod, we were all wrong. The rods were all still intact. The rod wasn't even bent. However, the piston was broke off. I broke a piston. Yeah. So anyway, I went ahead and got a new crank rods and pistons. Put everything back together, and got the heads all cleaned up. There was really no damage to the heads, except the fact that I was using the SCE Athena gaskets. So you have to clean the surface of the head off for that. So I went ahead and got that cleaned off, and heads are already, the engine's already back together, as you guys have seen pictures of. It's back in the car. So I did go with better crank rods and pistons. Well, can't say that the rods are any better, because I had no problem with the rods that I had before. The crank was just a crank out of a stock blower LS, so blower motor. So it was nothing super extravagant to write home about. I'm really kind of surprised it was living at the power level we were at, to be honest. It always did sort of worry me that I was going to break the crank. I don't know how much power they can hold, but we were putting a significant amount of power to it, and so we had no issues there. Bearings all came out of the engine looking really good, so everything was good except the fact that I broke a piston. and when I broke the piston, it scraped the sidewall. So we went ahead and went with a little bit stronger block this time. Still stock block, but stronger. And we will give this one a try and hope everything still stays together. And of course, we're still using the same turbo. Everything is the same, except we had a little bit more compression with the pistons this time around, and we're switching from Q16 to alcohol. So everything that went with having the intercooler, which I had the huge intercooler from No Corners Cut Fabrication, it was absolutely mind-blowing how well this thing worked. And they advertised it to me as a 2,000 horsepower intercooler. And they made it for me. They made it for me fast. I had it in probably a week from when I ordered it. And I put it in the car. I had a 5-gallon water box in the car with a built-in transmission cooler was inside the box, which everybody knows is kind of hard to get these days. Nobody really makes them anymore. And those parts are still together as a unit, but they are going in our friend's S10 truck, which he is going to enjoy. But the intercooler was absolutely incredible. But I had a lot of weight in the car. Water weighs a lot, and having the intercooler with water in it weighs a lot. Having a 5-gallon water box with ice and water in it weighs a lot, and having lines with water in them weighs a lot. And I wanted to take weight out of the car. Coming from being a nitrous guy who had a car at 2,500 pounds with him in the car, to having a car that was almost 3,000 pounds with me in the car was a bit of an eye-opener. And I'm used to having a light car, and that's part of what's always made my car work as well as it did, was because I always had the weight off the car. And it made the car easy to work, made it very well to work. Everything that I have learned about suspensions, Dave Zimmerman, Team Z Motorsports, I can never, ever thank him enough for everything that he has taught me about these Mustang suspensions. He is probably, I can't tell you how much time he spent, but he has spent time and time and time again with me on these Mustang suspensions, to the point that, I don't know, it's just kind of become my thing to get it adjusted and always have it dial right. And the old joke of hooking in a car wash, my car would have hooked in a car wash. I'd never had a problem getting traction with that car, ever. And so I'm working on getting my percentages back exactly where I want them. I had a little bit more nose percentage than I want. I could have set the motor back a little bit because I use motor plates, but I didn't really want to set it back too much. Because of me trying not to have the car to wheelie, so I'm not trying to put too much in the rear. But I took some total weight off the car, which is all in front of the rear tires. Radiator has already been in the back of the car since we went to turbo, so that weight's already in the back from all the water sitting in the radiator. Even though it does go forward, but most of that weight is, other than what's in the block, is now behind instead of in front of the rear end. So that's a bit of a help keeping my percentages down. Now that I've moved the weight off the front, percentages should look a lot better. We'll get it back on the scales, and we'll figure it out. And maybe I'll show you guys pictures of the scales, or do a little video when we're scaling it, and we'll show you where it turns out to be and where I kind of like to do things. I've actually narrowed the rear end again, as you've seen in the pictures, and narrowed it another 1.5 inches on either side. And I have lowered the car back down to where I like it, which I could not do with the 12-inch wide wheels, but I could on the 10s. The difference was, with the 10-inch wheels, I still had stock mounting points on my 8.8 rear end, and on the body side of the car. And I could not, with it lowered where I really like it to be, get the suspension where I really wanted it to be. To have my Insta-Center, my anti-squat, all where my car is the sweet spot for my car, I could not get it there. So I had to raise the car back up. I wasn't really having a problem with traction, but my 60-foot was kind of suffering compared to where it's normally at. So I raised it back up and got everything back where I usually ran it, and it was right back to 60-foot like no tomorrow again. And now I have the Team Z lowers on the body side, and I have TRZ on the rear end. And the reason I went to TRZ on the rear end is because they are straight. They don't come off at an angle on the rear end side. And I needed a little bit closer to straight for how far in I was moving them, so that I can fit a different wheel on with different offsets in the future if I want to. if I were ever to put 29s on this car, then I need a lot more offset inside, and a lot more backspace inside with the same offset on the front, and then it'll have the same look and everything will still fit. So I have to put the tire to the inside of the car. The reason for that is I hate when you see a car and its wheels are way deep inside the fender wells. I don't mind it if it's inside the fender well so you can lower it, but I don't like it when you look at it and you think that should have a big tire on it. That's a big tire car with a small tire on it. I'm a small tire car. I want to stay looking like a small tire car. So therefore, we will use wheels if we were ever to run 29s, which has not ever been in the plans, but I have built the car so that I can fit 29s on it if I really want to. Most small tire racing, even though there's the big back and forth ways of which is small tire, 28 or 29s. There's a huge difference between 28 and 29s, and I'm sure everybody has seen pictures of both. The reason guys want to run 29s is they are huge, and you can put a lot more power down a lot faster. But I'm a 28 guy. But if I end up at a race where they want 29s, then I need to have a set of wheels that fits. I want 14-inch wide wheels for the 29s because I'm going to take full advantage of running a 29 if I'm going to run a 29. That's why I've got a 28 on a 12. Everybody says, oh, 28s with this no prep kind of stuff, it works better on a 10. It works better on a 10. It works better on a 10. Well, the track I run at, it's as no prep gets. I mean, they can prep the track, and they have street cars come out there on their regular hard tires, and they tear the entire track up, and they don't spray it again for the rest of the night, and all you get's a water burnout. You're not even pouring your own puddle. It's just a straight water burnout and bare spots all over the track. I mean, it's as no prep gets, and I can hook my car. I mean, I've hooked my car on the street with a small burnout, just doing a quick little test run, and then hitting it on 12-inch wide wheels. So I know some people have better luck with 10-inch wide wheels, and that's great. I have nothing against that. I like the look of the 12-inch wide wheels, and I happen to be able to make them work. So for me, more power to me. That's the way I like it. If you make a 10-inch wide wheel work with your 28s and you get it to work that much better, then that's good. Use whatever makes it work best for you. But I like the looks of the 12s, and I can make the 12s work. So that's what I'm using as 12s. And if I ever go to a 29, it's going to be on a 14, and I'm going to get it out there. Reason people do 12s with their 28s is it stretches that contact patch out, and most of you are going to know this. Some of you are probably just going to learn this, but most of you are going to know it already. When you put a 28 10.5 on a 12-inch wide wheel, it stretches that contact patch out. It gives you a little bit more rubber on the ground. When you're no prepping, that little bit of rubber, it helps. It really helps. Even if you're on a prep track, it helps. It does. It does stiffen the sidewall a little bit. But if you're putting down a lot of power, then the sidewall's still going to wrinkle up, and you're still going to go. You've just got to get your suspension dialed in right for it. Some people, they're doing what they got to do, and their car may not work on a 12-inch wide wheel. And if you can't adjust your suspension, or if you refuse to raise or lower your car to heights that you don't like how it looks to make your car work right, to get your instant and your anti-squat correct, then you're not going to make a 10 or a 12 work anyway. Because even on 10s, I had to have my 10-inch wide wheel, I had to have my car at a certain height in order to get my instant center and anti-squat working correctly. And there's only so much you can do to it. For the longest time, my bolt holes on my rear end were about 3/4 of an inch lower than everybody else's from the factory. Always. It's little things I learned reading Mathis's book a long time ago. And stuff that they used in road racing that I was able to apply to drag racing. So I, of course, went and cut some ears off another 8.8 rear end. I welded them onto mine and cut mine off at a certain distance. So everything was flat, welded them on, heated them up a little bit so they got a little wavy so you couldn't even tell where I welded them. Painted it up, it looked great, and my holes were 3/4 of an inch lower, which really actually kind of helped me out a little bit. A lot of people didn't have that. A lot of people didn't know about that. There's a lot of people that know about it that don't talk about it. A lot of people today that will still do that, and they don't want people to know that they've done it. It's a trick you can do. There's a lot of tricks you can do that people don't talk about, and a lot of them I may talk about, a lot of them I may not. But for me, my engine, it's up a little bit higher than stock for a reason. It works. It helps transferring weight. If I was a Pro Mod style car, I'd put it down low and then you move it back because you're going to set on them wheelie bars. But I don't have wheelie bars. I'm a small tire car. So my engine's in the stock, about the stock location. And it's raised up just a little bit. And all the rules for class racing basically tell you get plus or minus 1 inch on your front wheels to your back wheels, for your for your length. So I got an aftermarket K member. It slid forward 1 inch because it'll go 1 inch forward. It works. I got a little bit more wheelbase, and that's another inch of wheelbase. I'm still factory wheelbase, plus or minus 1 inch. I don't want to minus 1 inch, because you minus 1 inch, then you're shortening it. It's going to want to wheelie a lot more. You move it forward 1 inch, and now it wants to wheelie a little bit less. And every little bit you can do one way or the other for whatever you need to do, it'll work. I have no problem with my car getting traction, so I don't want to move it back. I want to move it forward. I can apply a little bit more power a little bit faster and not have to yank the wheels off the ground. It works. But little things you can do on your cars, guys. Lots of little things you can do on your cars. Little things. And things that I've been doing for years that other people have been doing. A lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people do. It don't cost no money to move your K member forward a little bit and see if that helps you get power in sooner so it doesn't wheelie so much. Or if you're having issues actually getting traction, maybe move it back 1 inch. And so that you got a little bit shorter wheelbase. Shorter wheelbase makes cars want to wheelie a little easier. Slide it back 1 inch, see if that works, And most people don't even realize my car's it's moved forward 1 inch. My front suspension's moved forward 1 inch. I just slid it because the slots are already in the aftermarket K member. They're already there. They're already there. You just got to make sure you square it back up once you move it forward 1 inch. And some cars, there's guys with Mustangs, they have a hard time just getting them things squared up in the first place. And they don't know things to do. And, you just got to adjust it. And if you can't move it forward or back for this reason or that reason, you can slot them, those slots in there. You can make them a little bit longer if you need to. There's nothing that says you can't. Make them a little bit forward so you can still square it off and get it forward some or backward some, whatever you need to do. Take your time to dial it in real good. I see a lot of guys out there with cars that, and my car was doing it for a little bit after the turbo combination. We got enough power in it, and it started wanting to rear steer real bad. So I had to add some rear steer into it. So we did. I see a lot of guys out there, their cars they're rear steering bad. And they're all doing anti-roll bar adjustments. And it helps them a little bit, but because it helps them a little bit, they think it helps them a lot. And that's not it. You can watch Tim McCamus videos and he'll tell you all about rear steer. And once you start getting into enough power, you start needing to add a little bit, add a little bit, add a little bit, add a little bit. And that's true with these small tire cars too. It's like things in them move. It just straight moves. We're basically stock style suspension cars. We're not back half 4-link cars. So that stuff's not staying solid. Even those cars, once you get enough power, they still have to have a little rear steer added in them. So your car's going down a track. Watch the videos from behind. And you'll see that the ass end of the car starts to come out just a little bit, and then you start steering it. You're going slower than you were if you went straight, because you're fighting the car and you're turning wheels, and that's the car fighting itself. And you're going to lose a little bit, maybe not a lot, not a lot that it concerns you, but it's enough. So that's things to look for and check out for that we watch for and get dialed in. And we'll get the car going straight again as soon as we get out. We'll get everything measured back up, basically back where it all was before, except it's going to, be able to sit a little bit lower. And we'll get the weight percentages all back correct. And before you know it, we're going to be back out testing again, having a good old time, having a fun time. In the meantime, it's actually kind of cloudy if you look up in the sky here today. And it's not humid. It's kind of a nice day. So I just thought I'd sit outside, talk to you guys for a little bit, and show you how long the beard's getting. And yeah, so that's where we're at. We're going to put the fuel system back together once we get back in California, and fire it up on Q16 in the beginning, make all of our adjustments because we've already got a tune for Q16. So I'll leave those injectors in, fire the car up on Q16, make sure the fuel pumps and everything's no leaks, everything's at the right pressure. And then we'll pull those injectors out, put the new bigger injectors in, put some alcohol in it, and we'll let my tuner Scott Clark go to town tuning. Get that thing all tuned up and get some testing done. And then next spring we'll have it back here in the Midwest, and we'll be hitting a lot of races around here. A lot of racing. So we'll be hitting a lot of them up. We'll be hitting a lot of races, having some fun. Hoping to see all you guys out there and mixing it up with all you guys. So it'll be great. Anyway, thanks for taking your time and watching this crazy long video of me rambling about nothing except the car's close. Basically, it's all I really truly got. 25 minutes of the car's close. Anyway, hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. We'll see you later.